The NBA All-Star break is closing in, and the more the season progresses, the MVP conversation continues to heat up. And while I think it is still very early to call MVP, there's still one player who seems to be a very good fit for the award, Joel Embiid. Now before we get this video started, as always, if you like this video, leave a like. If you like this kind of content, consider subscribing, and let's get right into it. Growing up in Cameroon, Joel Embiid had a late start to basketball. In fact, he didn't play organized games until he was well into his teens. With his natural size and athleticism, he didn't need much time to develop, because by the time he was 19, he was playing for Kansas, averaging 11 points, 8 rebounds, and 2.5 blocks a game. While the stats weren't the best we've seen, the promise was real for Embiid going into the 2014 draft, eventually going 3rd overall to the Sixers. Despite being such a high pick in the draft, most of the hype was centered around Andrew Wiggins. And after injuries caused him to completely miss his first 2 seasons, the hype died even more. While his first season actually playing was good on paper, averaging 20 and 8 with 2.5 blocks a game, he only played 31 games, which was not enough to prove anything definitively. However, by the 2018 season, he was already an all-star, averaging 23 points and 11 rebounds a game, but only still playing 63 games. The next season, he had by far the best season of his career, averaging 27 points, 13 rebounds, and 2 blocks a game. But despite his MVP caliber numbers, he yet again only played 64 games, pretty much ruling him out of the MVP conversation. So while he was known as one of the best players in the league, the MVP was just out of reach. The 2020 season was a down year for Embiid, averaging pretty much the same numbers as 2 years prior. Even if he had played enough games, he didn't have anything close to an MVP caliber season. But that all changed this season, averaging 30 and 11 so far, and leading the Sixers to the first seed, despite Simmons having a down year. He's played the majority of his games so far, and had multiple monster stat lines, including his 50 and 17 game the other night. The stats are there to back him, as well as the wins, but how does he stack up against everybody else in the MVP race? I do think it's too early to know for certain who's in the MVP conversation, and most sources online will say names like LeBron, Luka, KD, Curry, or Jokic, but as I've mentioned in a previous video, I don't think the MVP will be somebody who's won before. But even if that wasn't the case, I still think Embiid would be a front runner. LeBron James will always have an MVP narrative as long as he's winning, but this season he's just putting up LeBron numbers. I understand the narrative more for last season because he was putting up a different stat line than you'd expect from him, but 26, 7, and 8 is normal for LeBron, and not quite MVP level. And before you can say anything about it, age doesn't matter. If him being in his 18th season should make a difference, then Vince Carter should have been an MVP candidate for being the only player to play 22 seasons. It's a very flawed argument. Curry and Jokic are in the same category on this one. They have the narrative and stats to back their MVP, but not the wins. Now the West is incredibly competitive, and both of them are just a few games out of a top 4 seed, which would make them both easily qualify for MVP, but in a low playoff seed, their chances are not great, and Luka Doncic has been disappointing. Not bad, but disappointing. That's what expectations can do, and I'll admit, I was on Team Luka going into the season. He has MVP level stats, but the Mavs just don't have enough success for him to win, and I don't see them improving to be a top seed. Now for KD, he has the numbers so far, and the wins, and the narrative. But with Harden and Kyrie playing so well so far, and being the 2nd seed behind Embiid, whose second best player has been disappointing this season, Embiid will definitely have the edge, especially considering he hasn't won the MVP yet. So as of right now, I think Joel Embiid is the best MVP candidate. And if he keeps the 1st seed, he deserves it. But what do you think? Do you think he's this season's MVP, or is it someone else? Let me know in the comments. As always, if you like this video, leave a like. If you like this kind of content, consider subscribing. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.
Thank you.